We've got ourselves a menacing batch of lake effect snow for the Great Lakes. Luckily quiet in other portions of the country, but it's going to be rocking and rolling, measuring big time piles from this event. Hello everybody, meteorologist Brian Ivy here, and this is going to be the culprit. Big time cold air pushing from the west across the Great Lakes, bringing in the relatively warm air and moisture to produce all that snow. That's a big time Arctic blast, and that's going to push off to the northeast. Eventually, moderating temperatures will happen, but this is a major early lake effect event. We are talking feet of snow in spots. The typical big lake effect events are in November and December before the lakes get too cold and maybe icy, though. It'll stay very cold across a big portion of the country. We are seeing a warm up next week, but are we talking about above average or no? And where's that going to be? And then northwest portions of the country could deal with a little bit of action next week for travel days, but a good portion of the country is fairly quiet. So we'll continue to break that down. This is just some light snow that's going to be drifting off towards the west and central portion of the nation. Tomorrow, you get a little bit of action going into the first half of the day across the Great Lakes, but there's going to be a trough that dips on through, and then that cold air really centers in, and then there you go. Big time snows for western Michigan in spots, but it's not those heavy bands. It'll just add up over a few days. You got snow off of Lake Huron. This is going to be the big boy. Watch this band here. Buffalo, New York area getting hit super duper hard. And then, of course, you got Oswego into upstate New York, the Snowbelts off of portions of Lake Huron and northern Michigan. Then this will have a little clipper system across the northern Great Lakes. It's going to kind of push this out and end it, and we'll get a little bit of a pattern change next week. But yep, lots of snowfall, several inches to maybe a foot in portions of Michigan there. We're talking big time snows into our Canadian snowbelt counterparts, and then the big boys there across Lake Ontario and Lake Erie. Wow, Buffalo, no joke here. The 2 to 3 feet is the realistic forecast in spots. Now, could the band be maybe here? Could it be up here? Yeah, certainly possible. Normally it is around the downtown area and a little bit south. Big time snows back into portions of northwest PA as well, hugging that shoreline. But these are those big bands that certainly are memorable. You'll be getting some snow off and on into the next middle of the week for portions of the northwest. That's kind of the best chance, though, middle of the week with that next disturbance. So mountains get a decent amount of snow, but you're not going to see a super major widespread issue most likely at that point. It's going to be fairly quiet across the other portions of the country, but I want to pick things up here going into the end of the week, the weekend, and you still got those snow showers off of the Great Lakes, then eventually coming to an end, pulling out of the northeast, and yeah, pretty quiet at that point. Watch for this system maybe to develop with just some rain showers once we get into like Wednesday and your actual Thanksgiving, I think. But before that, it'll be this system coming into the northeast for portions of early next week into maybe the middle portion of the week. So that could maybe hamper localized travel plans. But notice, it's not a really big deal. A lot of the country not seeing a ton. There's your developing system. We'll keep an eye on that, but it doesn't look like some major snowstorm at this point through at least Wednesday and your Thanksgiving. What does look like major is the cold. Still super widespread. That's well below average. That's some pretty super duper cold stuff as well, but it comes to an end gradually as we go throughout next week. By the middle of the week, we are starting to see big time warm temperatures compared to average take over across much of Canada and much of the central US, and it's going to take a good old while to push out of the northeast, but we are going to be moderating, so that'll be nice. Your Turkey Day pattern aloft forecast, you got ridging, so you're going to push in milder air, so we're talking about more in the way of 40s and 50s where you're seeing 20s, and then big time warmth pushing back into the western portion of the country. This could be a developing system. We'll watch for that maybe towards like Black Friday and your Thanksgiving weekend.